What's up, guys? This is my M8000 Hardcore 2019, and now that I've got a few hours onto it, couple good days of trail riding. I know it's a mountain sled, but here in Nova Scotia not too often we get mountainous snowing conditions. But either way, you can hate on me if you want, but this sled mostly does get driven on trails, and if I'm lucky enough that we get deep snow, well then obviously I'm going to take it out and play around the woods and stuff a bit. But anyway, after driving this thing, I probably put 25 or 30 hours on it now. I just want to give my 2 cents worth. First off, a lot of guys say, oh, you can't drive a mountain sled in the trail, they're not geared right, they're not fast enough, blah blah blah. I find this thing plenty fast enough for me. 80-85 mile an hour, no problem running along good trails. My biggest issue I had was right at the start, before I even took this sled out. I did the same thing I did with my Crossfire, which is in the building with a blown fuel pump now. But I set this machine up so that it sat at its highest point while it was just there empty. So what I mean is, I cranked my coils almost as tight as they would go, so that if I picked up in the front of the machine, there was no extra lift. So last night I dropped them roughly 1.5 inches. I'm probably going to drop them a little bit more because I think it's still going to be a little stiff in the front. But I had done the same thing with my skid shock here in the back. I had this cranked up probably another inch or so, and basically it was really stiff to ride, and right off the bat it was really tippy. But I want to talk about why it was tippy, and why it was tippy was because of these ski bushings right here. They were on the inside, which makes the sled narrower, and I had this thing on its side 3 times driving through a rough trail that the Crossfire had no trouble to just drive through without even tipping. So right off the bat it was too narrow, and I was honestly quite a bit disappointed with it for what I'm going to be using it for. So I brought it home later that day, which was 2 days ago now, and I adjusted these bushings. And yesterday I had it out on a really good run, and other than my suspension being stiff, this thing rips. I mean, the acceleration on the low end with this big track is just arm tearing. And overall, the trails we were on obviously aren't perfect. We've only got about 1.5 foot of snow. So there was a few spots that were pretty rough, but the machine seemed to do really well for how stiff I had it set up. So now today, I've got my front lowered a bit and my skid shock softened up a bit. Hopefully gonna get some more battery life out of my GoPro batteries today. It was really cold yesterday. I had 4 batteries and I got 30 seconds of footage out of 4 batteries. So hopefully GoPro soon comes up with a new solution there, because it's foolishness you can't video in the cold. But anyway, hopefully everything's gonna go good today. The MPP can sounds great on it. I'm really enjoying that. And the motor, the clutching, this thing works really well. I can't say it doesn't. It's quite aggressive. I got to drive a few different sleds the last few days, and they were all pretty nice sleds, but I won't say this one was my favorite. This one seemed to have the better power and the better acceleration, but again, 3-inch track, nobody else had that. But I drove another sled, the 850 that was crashed in the earlier video, and that thing rode like an air cushion. I was honestly astonished. I'm not a Bombardier guy, I'm not bragging it up, but the thing worked really well, which I suspected it would. All the new sleds do. It don't really matter if you're Cat, Bombardier, or Polaris, but I'm a Cat guy. But I'll always try something else out and let somebody else try mine if they want to. So I will say driving the Bombardier kind of spoiled me for the suspension, so hopefully I can get the suspension dialed in on this so that I'm happier with it. And had a few issues already. Don't waste your money on these scratchers that you flip up and flip down. I literally got 1 day of driving out of these and they're wore right off that there's not even a hook left. So So as long as it doesn't go into my track, I won't cut them off with the grinder for now, but I do have a set of the cable ones ordered off Rural Distributing, which are meant to run down all the time. They flex when you go in reverse. They're a much better setup. I'm gonna order a set of the double carbide tipped ones. They're like 90 bucks. So this here is just a waste of money, this style. Don't even bother with it. And other than that, I had a little issue back here. The way I mounted my aftermarket snow flap, I had it bolted to this lip and it started breaking my corners here. So we got rid of that. My tail light was falling off, so I got a new bolt in that. The rivets let go already. Now I've got my flap geared up on this tail bar, so it's good and solid. Hopefully these big tie wraps will hold up and do the job, and I got a piece here to hold it from going up in my tunnel when I'm in reverse. But kind of mandatory to have the flap onto it using it on the trail like I am, and same as the scratchers. Depending on the situation, the flap sometimes won't do anything, so you rely on the scratchers. But one nice thing with this new cat is it shows me the temperature the whole time I'm driving. I've got it up on my digital display right here, so if the engine does start creeping up, I see it long before the warning light comes on. And other than that, I am very happy with this machine. And I noticed the new C-Tech oil. It's green, not blue, and it has a very, very, very peculiar smell to it, like undescribable until you smell it. But at the same time, the new Bombardier that I drove the other day, that takes, you know, a similar type of special oil, whatever, and his oil had a pretty funny smell to it as well. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I know the oil does stink, obviously, when I start at the shop and stuff, but I got another smell coming off the paint of my new can that I bought. It's got a high heat temperature paint onto it, and yesterday in a few spots when I actually got it opened up, running it quite hard for long periods of time, you could smell the that high temperature paint heating up on the can, so that'll work itself out eventually too. So that's enough yakking, but you know, if you're going to use one of these, if you find it tippy, hopefully these tips will help you out. And now hopefully my GoPro batteries will last and get this thing out, get mounted up and go for a rip, but we still got some snow.